Podcast Playlist.
Hey, pod players. Thank you so much for listening and staying subscribed during the season break. This is a special mini-season before I get to that music series I told you about before. I am working in collaboration with Kevin at discoverpods.com on a special roundtable episode of Podcast Playlist to discuss the DiscoverPods 2017 Podcast Awards. Voting is open now for nominations, so use the link in the show notes or go to discoverpods.com to access the pinned post and cast your votes. You'll cast nominations for the best overall podcast, the best podcast of many specific genres, and select your top 4 favorite hosts that would comprise the 2017 Mount Rushmore of podcasting, or Mount Podmore, because we should all pod more. At the end of November, I'll have a roundtable episode with Kevin and Arielle from the EarBuds Collective and Pheobe from the New York Times podcast group. We'll discuss the nominations and select the winners of the 2017 Mount Podmore. After that episode airs, starting December 1st, final voting will open where you can pick from the top 5 nominations of each category. Results should be posted mid-December, so please, go cast your nominations, stay tuned for the roundtable, and get ready to vote for the finalists. Also, more fun special announcements. Podcast Playlist is the flagship podcast of the Podcast Advocate Network. You can find all the shows on the network at podcastadvocate.network. The current winter lineup is Podcast Playlist, Nobody Asked for This, a music conversation podcast with song clips and fact-checking interruptions, Unplaced, an eerie audio drama about a woman who disappears, told from her perspective. And we just brought on board The Monday American, a deep dive into American history, bringing the story back into history. I'll bring on the hosts from these shows from time to time and other friends of the network to talk about their favorite podcasts and their shows so you can get a sample of their show and behind-the-scenes look at how they're made. So please, stay subscribed for more podcast recommendations, stay tuned real soon for that roundtable episode, and head over to discoverpods.com to place your nominations for the 2017 Podcast Awards. One last thing. I can't tell you how much of a benefit it is for the life of this show if you were to go to audibletrial.com/podplay and grab a free audiobook. You get a free audiobook with no obligations, and I get supported. It would mean the world to me. There are tens of thousands of great books to choose from. Please go to audibletrial.com/podplay, PODPLAY, and grab your free audiobook to support this show. There are a couple ways to support the show to keep the recommendations coming. Please visit podcastplayl.ist/support. There you can find my Patreon page and other affiliate links to support the show. For more podcast recommendations and to rate and review podcasts yourself, head to podchaser.com, a new site devoted to podcast discovery. This podcast is hosted on the incredible Podiant.co podcasting platform that has a free unlimited tier and upgrades for services and features. If you're looking to host your own podcast, check it out and send me a link. I'd love to hear your show. Send me your comments, suggestions, and recommendation success stories. I'm at the Pod Playlist on Twitter. I'm on Facebook at Podcast Playlist. I'll accept text or audio messages to the podcastplaylist@gmail.com. You can leave a comment on the post at podcastplayl.ist, where you can also see the show notes. In the immortal words of Mike Burkett from NoFX, the People's Revolution is going to be a podcast.
Podcast Playlist.